Hello, my lovely singers. Today I have a very special guest here, Sania Jardine. She has been a language teacher and coach for 10 years. She works mostly with professionals who know English but struggle to speak freely. She is the person you go to when you're stuck in your learning and need to figure out which strategies and mindset shifts help you to get your ideas out into the world. Sania and I met in an online course and we regularly talk about business and singing, language and learning. We meet for coffee and talk about life and sometimes forget that we are sitting in different countries. So, I wish you a very nice time with our talk here and I hope you will enjoy. We're gonna start with our nice and easy interview today. So I was so much looking forward to it because I was talking with Sania, I think 3 months or 4 months ago about how is it for non-native speakers to sing in English? Because I had also this problem, and quite a lot of time there have been people who said, no, please sing in German, don't sing in English because your English is not good enough. So I'm very happy to have Sania here. And Sania is not only my English teacher, but she is also an English teacher for so many other people. And what is very special about Sania is, for me, it's like she's not telling you immediately the solution. She's like letting you swim a little bit in your in your dilemma, and then she gives you a very nice, like a click or something like that, and then you. It's for me. It's like that I'm thinking, okay, I can say it in a different way. So how I did it before, and it was okay for me. And yeah, and what she has a lot of very good strategies, and she has a very nice Insta account and a very nice email campaigns with a lot of stuff where you can jump right into it and try all these exercises. It's very nice. And yeah, Sania, so I have today 3 questions to you, and then you're gonna and afterwards maybe you can tell us more about your work as an English teacher. Is that okay for you?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so Sania, what is the sentence what you hear the most from non-native speakers? One sentence.
I can't speak English. That's just I can't speak English is the one thing that people come to me with, which is normally followed by a good half an hour conversation in English. So it's the perception. Yeah, it's the swimming. Exactly. It's a perception I can't speak English, which often means I'm scared of speaking English, really. Or I feel I'm not good enough, or I feel I'm not fluent. And that's the sort of gap that it's often people who say I can't speak English because they're just aware of all the things they can't do yet, and they want to be fluent. And those are obviously really far away from each other. And then we start taking that apart, what it actually means to be fluent and what it means not to be able to speak English. Yeah, so that's the standard sentence.
Yeah, so that also comes from this mindset thing about this calm down and relax. And also when it's the most easiest sentences that you hear from every kids cartoon thing, what you can use also in maybe also in higher positions, or isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite sentences, this idea of simple language or simple words, complex thoughts. Because people who work with me normally, they're not complete beginners. Yeah, especially, I mean, they're mostly Germans. They will have had English in school, often for quite a long time and to quite a good standard. But there is that feeling of, if I can't say everything I want to say exactly with the words I want to use, then I'm not good enough. And that's not the reality. that is just somewhere in that's in us. Yeah. And it's about just being aware of all the things you can say, all the words you do already have, and always say you have everything you need in order to say what you want. Maybe not in exactly the right words, but it's there, and it's about the communication. It's about talking to other people. The other person doesn't know that you didn't know that word. So it's about not thinking that you're not being a complex person just because you can't use complex words. So,
yeah. This is very good. And what I often also see is that when people don't know a word, for example, I didn't know the word for I cannot believe that. Responsibility. Okay, this was really hard. And when we connect that with we are not good enough, and we are connecting it in English, so it's I don't know the word, okay, I'm not good enough in English, and you repeat it over and over again, what will happen is that you really think that you're really not good in English, and then you don't open really up the space for being good in English, because then you're like shutting up everything. And it's quite funny, because I am not a native German speaker, but I also speak Polish because my parents are from Poland. And very often I don't know the word in Polish because I grew up in Vienna. So it's for me like the language I speak the whole time. But sometimes when I'm in Poland, I think I talk and then a word doesn't come up, and I know that maybe in English and I know it maybe in German, but I don't know in Polish. And I'm not thinking 1 second about it. I'm not good in Polish.
Yeah.
But I have this thought sometimes in my mind. Also, I have this thought, yes, that I'm not good in English, because I think that it connects. It is connected in my mind with the school. It's like I was learning it in the school.
It was on a vocabulary list.
Yes, and I missed it. Oh my God.
And I mean, you don't even have to go into, I mean, first of all, yes, a lot of people who speak to me and they will say, yeah, I'm fine in French, I'm fine in Italian. My English is just not good enough. And I think, wow, you already speak 3 languages more or less fluently. You know, it's fine. You're learning another one and you'll grow into that. Also, remember, you have that experience of learning other languages. So why should you not manage to do it in English? And then when we speak in our own language, so when I speak German or when you speak German and you forget a word in German, it would never for 1 second occur to you to think, oh, I can't ever speak German again. I don't know all the words all the time. So, we somehow, there is a feeling of not being particularly forgiving to ourselves when we're in a learner mindset.
Yes.
And it's about getting away from that, creating the space, coming back into the moment. How else can I say, like you just said, oh, I'll say it differently, fine. And the other person would never know. So it's, because I just want to know what you're saying. They don't want to test you now on the word responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not a test, it's a conversation.
The next time I see it in my English lesson, Susanna, what was the word? Responsibility.
I don't do that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And Sania, when you hear others talking in English, because this is like my students, for example, they think, yes, I know they can say that because they are speaking now fluently in this interview, and it's very easy for them. And that's but what can I do now to have a better English pronunciation? What can I do now to be more like an English native speaker? What is the most?
Well, first of all, better pronunciation is I would split that into 2 things, because the question is, especially maybe for your students as well, what they're actually trying to achieve with their English. And the first step of pronunciation is obviously that you know your pronunciation, the sounds, the intonation, the rhythm of the language. well enough to communicate. Yeah, so people understand you. And that is a kind of thing. There's some basic rules about that. It's about listening to the language. It's about learning some general pronunciation rules so people understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. The second thing, and that's often what people talk about, what they also come to me with, they'll say my pronunciation isn't good. And I say, no, your pronunciation is fine because we've just been talking for an hour and I understood everything you said. So clearly you've got that first step. Fine, tick. Yeah, you're okay with that. And most people are. Most people who've spoken English for a while, they're normally at a stage where they might get the odd word wrong, but yeah. And the second step is then to make a decision about what am I actually trying to achieve with my pronunciation. So basically, who do you want to be? Yeah, because a standard sentence that learners will say is, I want to speak without an accent. Like you just said, I want to speak like an English native speaker. Yeah. And the basic thing is you can't speak without an accent. There is no English without an accent. There is often what German native speakers think of is the received pronunciation. It's the very British clipped English that we often learned at school. And certainly when I would learn English in school, you would be learning that very, what's considered the sort of received pronunciation English. But there are very few people who actually speak that English. Yeah, I mean, just as in Germany, just as in Austria, just as in any other language, there are varieties of that language. And especially in English, you'll know, is it American? Is it British? Is it Australian? Do you want to speak like someone from New Zealand? They all have their individual accents. Then there are regional accents. Then there are accents that are linked to certain peer groups, basically. Yeah? In certain professions, people might have a way of speaking that's considered to be the standard. I don't know if there's something for singers as well, that if you sing in a particular style, that they might have a certain accent they associate with that. So basically you need to decide, do I want to sing as just me, with just the accent I have, which is fine? Or do I want to emulate something that's a model for me because I want to sing in a certain style, or because I want to fit into a particular peer group or something? So is it about just communication, understanding, and being yourself in that? Or is it about actually deliberately doing something that other people do in a certain way?
Yeah.
I don't know what your students experience more often. Yeah, or do they even think about that?
What I often tell my students is, for example, when they are on a concert and they are singing, the most people there listening to are non-native speakers. So when you want to make music for native speakers, maybe then you have to go further, and maybe then it's really better to go to a country where there are native speakers and talk there, because then you are getting used to the sound, and then you imitate the sound, and then you get this maybe better pronunciation thing. But there is a limit. So you will never, when you start with 30 or 35 or whatever, and then you start talking in English more, or you want to sing in English more, and then it's quite hard to get an English without any accent. But we have to think that
no? I need to stop you there, because there is no English without an accent. Yeah. I just need to keep saying that, because it's so ingrained in us that to think I want to speak English without an accent. And it really would be the decision about what that person wants to emulate. And the problem is, if you want to sing like David Bowie, you're not going to be able to go and meet David Bowie, but you can listen to David Bowie. Yeah, so you can listen to models, and and I think singers have a real advantage with that, or generally musicians have a real advantage, because you're used to thinking about things like intonation and stress, how you connect syllables, how to construct your story in a text. And you can really listen to your models carefully. That's the first step, even without any training, without going abroad. Listen. And that's something where I sometimes wonder whether people think too much about, how do I produce that? How do I train myself? How do I learn all this? They just spend more time listening and listening to the kind of language that you want to emulate. because then you start sort of, I mean, it's a singing in the shower thing, isn't it? Because we copy things, and bit by bit you get that sort of twang, we say. You adopt certain features of something, and then you gradually move into that particular type of speaking.
Yes, and this is.
But the problem is, if you're dealing with a native speaker audience, they will always know.
Yeah.
So the question is, first of all, get into the mindset of saying, I'm always going to be me. I'm always going to be me with my language influences, just as I am in German as well. You will always hear that I'm not a native speaker, possibly, and it's fine. And make your peace with that. And then to say, I'm emulating a certain thing. I'm not trying to trick anybody into thinking that I'm David Bowie. I don't even try to do that. But there's a certain sound I want to achieve, and there's a certain intonation I want to achieve, and it goes with that particular accent. If you want to sing like Lily Allen, she sings very differently. If you want to sing like an American singer-songwriter, it's a very different thing. If you do country music, you'll probably adopt a very different accent. And you're moving in that direction, but to accept that you're always going to have your own voice, just as you do with singing. So you also have your own speaking voice, and it'll stay the same. And just to be a bit more sort of patient with that and accept that, and then you can listen really, really carefully to your models and then start emulating that. But yeah.
Yes, and that's possibility for talking, and of course it's good. What I have to say as an voice technique teacher, I have to say, when you in the beginning, when you start imitating somebody, then your whole vocal tract, your whole instrument is changing in that moment. So you step out of yourself and stepping into another person. What I meant about this accent thing is this German accent, because what I often very often hear is, for example, one student of mine, she's always saying hair, but she means her. And some of them, so yes, or this the, or this all this stuff, because then there are exercises where you can practice that. Yes, that's, of course they are.
But that's going back to the first step.
Yeah,
that's the first step of pronunciation, because if I mix up her and hair,
yeah,
I can't understand you.
yeah.
So the first step always has to be, and I think that is the same if you were speaking a very strong regional German or Austrian accent, you would probably think about that as well. And we're coming back to the responsibility to your audience.
Yeah.
I am trying to tell you a story.
Yeah.
If I'm telling you a story, if I'm giving an interview, or if I'm singing a song, I am trying to communicate something. And the first thing is that it's my responsibility that my audience can understand what I'm saying. I don't care if the sound is amazing. If all I hear is just some sort of string of noise, I'm going to lose my audience.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing to understand. I have a responsibility towards my audience. I'm telling them a story. I want to communicate something. How am I going to get that across in a way that they understand? And that's also the first step of pronunciation training, as you say, to be aware of actual mistakes you're making. And mistake, I don't use that word very often, but something that stops communication, where people will not understand what I'm saying. And I sometimes find that when sort of people sing as a hobby, and also when we were teenagers, you were sitting there with you and you would just sing along. You don't know enough English to actually know the words, and it comes out as a slightly odd thing with very embarrassing misinterpretations sometimes. If you don't know the words, you don't know the language, that means you can't tell the story. So first of all, you need to understand your own songs. You need to have thought about the story, and then you need to maybe work with someone else to check that your pronunciation is good enough to tell that story.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're not even talking accent yet. So at that point, we're just talking really basic. Can people understand the words?
Yes.
And that's developing your own voice. Yeah.
Yes. And then you can stay also true to yourself, because when you're working on the lyrics, then you immediately, when there is a word which you don't know, you immediately go to Google and or whatever and look up after this word, what does it mean, and what does this whole sentence mean. It's of course different when you write your own songs, but it's of course different when you sing. a song. It doesn't matter which it is.
So you
Sometimes
understand
it's
the
very
nuance of what you're
surprising.
saying.
Sometimes it's
There's
very
often nuance
surprising.
in there that you're unaware of, and you think, oh, the story is actually a bit different. It's like this Sting, is it Sting, this every breath you take thing?
Yeah.
And people think, oh, it's super romantic.
Yeah.
He says, God, it's about a stalker. It really isn't.
Yeah.
And if you sing that song, well, you maybe need to think about in what direction you want to take that song. So it's
yes.
what kind of story do you want to tell? Yeah.
Yes. So it's also like a rise up from Andra Day. She is really talking about the whole country. It's not only I help you as my friend, but I want to rise up the whole country. So we are all together. It's quite crazy when you go to the lyrics and you see them and then you look after them. It's like, oh, can I sing the song with these lyrics? Yeah. So maybe it's not touching anymore, or maybe it's more touching. So this is now we combine English pronunciation with English meaning and with emotion and all that stuff. So yes, we combine
it's just, I mean, ultimately it's extreme communication, isn't it? Because you're just doing exactly the same that you would do in a conversation. You just want to get something across to other people, and you think about, okay, do they actually understand what I'm saying? Do I understand what I'm saying? That's really important. And take that responsibility just quite seriously. And what type of accent you're then emulating, whether you want to verge towards British English, American English, certain kind of thing, it's really secondary. All the other stuff, the storytelling, the communication, that comes first. And the other stuff you can train by listening. You can, of course, go to accent training. Of course you can do that, but I think it's secondary, because once you're settled in your own communication style, once you understand what voice you want to use, you're a lot more relaxed about it, and you know what you're doing. It's not just some sort of accident of the song that you sing in a certain accent.
Okay, and Sania, what is can you tell us one special tip for non-native speakers, as an English teacher?
It's communication.
Talk the whole time.
No, I think this basic idea of, I'm not speaking English because I want to show that I speak English. I want to speak English because I'm talking to people. And on the one hand, that takes a lot of stress away, because you're not being tested on accuracy, you're not being tested on your vocabulary, you're not tested on anything. It takes a lot of pressure off. It's that breathing out thing. So, okay, this is because I'm here as a person and people want to know what I have to say as a person. But it also brings with it the responsibility to say, okay, I can't stand there and say, I don't know, because at that point I'm letting my audience down. So it's about finding ways to get your words out there and to get your thoughts out into the world. And that's what it's about. And then you've got a much better mindset in terms of, okay, great, how am I going to do that? And how am I going to get better at this? And that's sort of my thing. It's communication, it's not a test.
Yes, this is a very, very good and very helpful tip, because I also experienced that in the last weeks. And the more I'm talking with thinking about what I'm talking about, the better I'm talking, because then I'm not too fast in my talking. When I'm getting fast, it's like there is the thought and there is my talking, and it's like, oh, what comes next, and I don't give myself the permission to give me the time what I need to say, what I want to say. And when I give myself the time, I also find the words, because I also have the time to find the words I need. Sometimes there is a word missing. Okay.
But okay. That's inevitable. I mean, and of course, I don't say never learn vocabulary. Of course, you're going to develop. Of course, just like as a singer, you, on the one hand, I mean, it's sometimes sort of, we often find that it overlaps. I don't need permission to get started on singing just because I'm not perfect yet. It doesn't mean that I don't want to get better. And it's the same thing for English. you don't need permission from anybody who will say, now you're good enough to speak. You have that permission from the start. It doesn't mean that you don't want to get better. And yeah, and I really like that, with creating that little break, to, like we did in the beginning, to when you find yourself getting stuck, that you create a break and give yourself permission to think about what you wanted to say.
And what I usually do is a little exercise what I can now tell you what I'm doing.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's very, nobody knows that I'm doing that. So it's like when I'm talking and when I'm listening, I follow what you're saying, and in the same time I try to relax my body. So I try to relax inside of me, because sometimes there are situations in life where you have a very beautiful dress on and you are on a super high performance party, and then you cannot relax like that with a beer in the hand. So you have to have this upright standing position, and maybe this nice face and everything what we have in middle of Europe, especially. And then you can try to really relax all your face muscles and all your muscles in your body without losing the frame. So the frame is what is there, and inside of you you can relax. And this gives you the very little moment for yourself where you can exhale. And this exhaling, with this exhaling, you can always think about, I'm going to myself. I am going to myself. It's like you're talking, but I'm going to myself. And so I'm talking with you. I'm present. I'm here and in my conversation, but don't lose myself. And this is, I think, why many people go out of them, and then they're in the struggle. They don't know what to say, and they don't know which words, and then they are like completely, the only thing they can think of is, how can I go home now?
Yeah, the Fluchtinstinct. It's a fight and flight thing. Yeah, I mean, the other thing that it is obviously the meditation thing. Your breath is always with you. That's your friend. You whatever you're wearing on that day, however you're feeling, you can always come back to the breath. And the other thing that I find helpful as well is to connect with the floor, to have that sort of, wherever I am, connect with your feet. You're standing, you're fine, you're solid. And so you're safe basically in that situation. And then you can ground yourself, and then you can act again from that position of calm. Yeah, it's so important. And somehow when we're performing, when we're learning, when we're feeling tested in any way, it's so easy to lose that.
Yes, this is very nice with this floor thing. I love that. I love that, because there was really a hard time for me where I was every time performing in high heels, and then I know that one concert I was like, my leg was shaking, and I was so nervous, and my leg was shaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, my thought was, they can see it on the camera, they can see that my leg is shaking. And I was I take my shoes off, and then I was playing, and then I was again with my breath, again with the floor, as you said, and then I could keep on moving, because otherwise I would play and sing, but I would not think about the song. I would always think about, my leg is shaking. Oh gosh, my leg is shaking. It is shaking. Like that. And then after 3 minutes, I will always think about my leg and not about the story. And so it's also very important to feel comfortable. But this is another big
That's
story.
a completely different thing. But it's been about creating space a lot today, hasn't it? That sort of
and it's also
finding small ways.
So I will look in my notes here a little bit. if we miss something. I hope not. Okay, so no, we told everything and much, much more what we wanted to say. And now, and now, Sania, please let us know. Do you have any offers for singers so they can improve their English? Do you have something for us?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm an English coach for German native speakers, so obviously I work mostly with people who speak German, and a lot of my materials that I produce are in German because I normally want to limit that hurdle between where you are and where you want to go. So my newsletter is mostly in German, my blog is mostly in German. So if you're a German native speaker, you can find a lot of material on the blog and in my newsletter. So the website is www.thelanguagepig.com, like a Sprachschwein.
Yeah.
And I have a newsletter community where you get the newsletter with tips and strategies for learning languages. That also has a resource library with training materials. So that might be interesting for singers because there is sometimes material in there that might help you with a specific thing. And I do take wishes for that as well. And there is a little community where once a month we meet for a coffee break. So if you are, for example, a singer and you work with other people's texts a lot and you want to start improving your spoken English as well and work on that communication element, then that might be something nice to do. Plus, there is a freebie you can get, which is called Endlich Englisch sprechen. And it's a little guide that gets you through a lot of the mindset things that we've just been talking about as well and gets you speaking. And that might be a good first step into that sort of engagement with English as a language and as a way of communicating for a lot of people. So yeah, download that.
Yes, very good. And what is very nice about it, it's not like a long thing where you think that, okay, when I do that, I have to do that 1 hour a day. No, it's really very short. And I know that it's like sitting in the metro and reading the newsletter. It's like, yeah, I can do that. I can try that now. So it's only 5 or 10 minutes where you can take for yourself. It doesn't have to be every day, but if you want to become a bit better or more comfortable, start here to do something for that, because this is always about like I want to stop smoking, but I don't stop smoking like
it's
that.
It's a big thing. Yeah,
it's a big thing. And now you can do a little step and then you see what will happen. And when you have joy and fun, everything will get easier. That's always the same.
And if you're out and about, then have a look at the Instagram account as well, because that's also just the handle, the language pig, because that's where I actually write only in English, and that's often the place where you can have little snippets of English activities or little ideas for more creative stuff. So yeah, follow that.
So thank you, Sania. Thank you so much that you have the time to spend with us and with all these informations and all these tips. It's very, very cool. What I wanted to say now to add, we are also on Clubhouse. I forgot the time actually. Do you know that? Which time? 8, I think at 8 p.m. So if you have time today, jump right into this Clubhouse. If you don't have an invitation, so you don't have Clubhouse now, you can write me a private message on Instagram. I can send you. I have now, I think, 7 invites, so I can give you one invite and you can join us there and talk with us. And when you have questions, please let us know in the comments or come to Clubhouse. I will appreciate to see you there. And we will share a lot of more personal stuff, I guess, there, because Sania and me are talking sometimes like and then we thought, oh, this is good. Sometimes we have to recognize ourselves that it is good what we are talking. And
we just find that singers and language learners often have similar topics to talk about, and this idea of the learning mindset is just really exciting. So anybody who's interested in that, please do come and
Yeah, come up. It's
share.
very easy. It's very easy in Clubhouse. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I see you
Later.
next time. Later on Instagram, on Clubhouse.
Exactly.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.